Good day and happy Module 3. Today, we're going to be going over our company Pratt & Whitney and their 1100G unscheduled maintenance inspection problems. So a little history of Pratt & Whitney and the 1100G. Pratt & Whitney has over 13,000 jet engines in service today and is known as an industry leader. We do build engines for aircraft as small as a few seater engines to fighter jets for the military and also civilian and passenger aircraft as the engine we're going to be talking about today. So that engine is the Pratt & Whitney 1100G, and its predecessor, the 1200G, first took flight in 2008 and was meant to be flown for the Mitsubishi Space Jet, but that was ultimately canceled. In 2016, the Pratt & Whitney 1100G's first engines were installed onto the newly released Airbus A320neo. It was designed to be up to 16% more fuel efficient and up to 75% more quiet than the 1200G. So our company Pratt & Whitney felt a need to create a new engine in order to gain sales from being installed onto a new modern aircraft. The A320neo was and still is one of the most modern and comfortable passenger aircraft, and we wanted to make sure that we got an engine out for that aircraft that would be quiet, fuel efficient, and would maintain the status of being modern and efficient, just as the A320neo is. So we'll go to the next slide. Principles of operation. The Pratt & Whitney 1100G is a high bypass turbofan jet engine, and there are two systems, a high pressure system and a low pressure system. The high pressure system compresses and ignites air and fuel, keeping the motor alive, while the low pressure system provides most of the engine's thrust. So there are multiple types of engines. There's things like turbojet, ramjet, and turbofan, but today we'll be just discussing our engine, which is a turbofan. It has a two-pressure system. So there's a low pressure, which is seen as the green rotors, and a high pressure, which is seen as the purple rotors. And you actually get most of your thrust from the low pressure system. Bernoulli's principle describes that as with an increase in pressure becomes a decrease in velocity, and with a decrease in pressure, there is an increase in velocity. So the low pressure system is driven by the high pressure system, but creates most of that thrust, and the air, which is known as bypass air, that doesn't go through the core, doesn't get ignited, doesn't go through the compressor and the combustion chamber and through the high pressure turbine, actually gives you most of your power. And the high pressure system is what keeps all of the engines moving, or all of the parts in the engine moving. So the thing that we're going to be focusing on today is the high pressure turbine. So I will circle that right here. And the high pressure turbine is a two-stage, just like this one in this aircraft, or in this engine, the 1100G. And there have been a lot of manufacturing problems. So the unforeseen problems, through 6 years, through 2015 to 2021, of manufacturing the high-pressure turbine rotors for this engine, we found a metal contamination issue regarding the stage 1 and 2 discs. So the HPT rotor discs are not visible to the inspector via borescope. Borescope is a little camera that you could stick in the engine and inspect parts of the motor that wouldn't be visible without tear down. But unfortunately, borescope can't get everything, and those discs are one of them. The discs are really important because they hold in blades for the high-pressure turbine rotor, as well as other things. They act as a support, but they are extremely important, and there were microscopic cracks are the concern, as there was an issue with the powdered metal that was used in the manufacturing process of this engine. The HPT is directly attached to the compressor rotor and is subject to significant heat and drives power for the motor, so even a microscopic crack at the time could develop and become catastrophic. So there will be an impact upon serviceability. So upon learning about the contamination, we would have 200 engines pulled and torn down for inspection by mid-September 2023, which just passed, and it did happen. Within the following 12 months, Pratt & Whitney would have another 1,000 engines come in for inspection, although many were scheduled. And within the next 3 years, 600 to 700 more engines will come in for inspection after that. So the news and contamination definitely threw a large monkey wrench into our scheduled maintenance pace. We do have a schedule for engines to be received and overhauled and brought in for just specific maintenance that we were aware of and knew needed to be done. While we do understand that conditional maintenance, which is unforeseen, will happen, and we do take that into account when it's such a large amount of engines for such a large amount of airlines and aircraft, that definitely becomes a problem. So what will we do to fix this? Well, we'll have to bring in every engine that was possibly affected by this contamination. We do take this very, very seriously, and we understand the severity if a high-pressure turbine rotor were to fail. Each engine will be torn down and fully inspected to ensure serviceability. This will be starting with the oldest engines. We knew that these have been functioning the longest. They were subject to the most amount of damage and heat and pressure, so we will be dealing with those first. And once inspection is complete and high-pressure turbine and all other visible parts are deemed serviceable, we will reassemble the engine and continue its service. All other parts is a very, very big factor, because while the high-pressure turbine rotor might be serviceable, other parts of the motor might not be, and that will have to be fixed. Impact on parts and schedule of maintenance. It is unknown how many high-pressure turbine rotors will need to be replaced due to the contamination. Bringing an engine into a back shop and tearing down engines may lead to damage being found on other parts of the motor. This will cause more parts constraints as well as man hours used. So we kind of covered this on the last slide, but while the HPT rotor might be good, other parts that aren't visible during a borescope inspection and only become visible when it's torn down may be bad. So there might be a nozzle for the high pressure turbine rotor that was unavailable to be seen on a borescope inspection, but now that we tore it down, we noticed that was unserviceable. So we would have to replace that as well. There will be much less time to perform scheduled maintenance and overhauls with so many inspections to perform as well, and each inspection can take up to 300 hours to fully complete. So here's what to expect. Well, the perfect solution is yet to come. This is still a very, very new problem, and we haven't even reached the peak amount of engines that need to be brought in and serviced. The issue may affect your traveling plans in the near future if you're flying on the A320neo. So attached is a graph with all of the airlines that do have A320neos. As you can see, a lot of them do not have the Pratt & Whitney 1100G. They are powered by LEAP CFM1 engines, but it's still a considerable amount of aircraft, and routes may be canceled for a short while until we can get back up on our feet with inspections of these rotors. So for the next three years, about 350 aircraft will be grounded each year for inspection. That seems to be the plan for now, is to ground that amount of aircraft, inspect it, and then slowly lean off of that after those 3 years and inspect the rest. So we're still working on the perfect solution, and there may be delays, but we do have a plan in order right now to get these engines inspected without causing a detrimental amount of engine groundings. So here's my works cited, and I really do appreciate your time listening to this. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful Module 4, and thank you again. Have a great day.